She was born Margaret Bleak in Fort Portal District to engineer George William Bleak, a civil engineer with the Uganda Ministry of Works and Transport, and Mrs. Molly Bleak, a seamstress. Her father and siblings were champion motorcycle riders in Uganda and East Africa in the 1960s and 1970s. She has had a wonderful journey in academics, sports, career, and she is one of the ultimate role models Uganda has ever heard. What people are not aware of is that behind the camera, she has had to fight for her marriage, and today she lives with the pain of losing her husband and best friend. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching Life Stories. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. With me, your host, Justine. Everybody in life has a story that they call a story of their lives. Dr. Margaret Bleak Kigozi, commonly known as Dr. Maggie Kigozi, has one too. She's a mother, a wife, very, very ultimate role model. She's a doctor, medical doctor by profession. She's a business lady, among many other things that society appreciates her for. She's joining us on the show, and he is Dr. Hello, my dear.
Hello, Justine. How are you?
I'm fine. It's so good to see you.
Thank you.
Every time I see you, I'm starstruck.
Oh.
Oh, doctor, tell us about your life growing up.
Growing up. Yes, I was born in Fort Portal. Beautiful place. But we didn't live there very long, maybe 2-3 years. Moved to Kampala because my older siblings had to go to school in Kampala. So we lived in Bweyogerere. At that time, a real village, you know.
I can only imagine.
Yes, forest, even forests, and you know. So that's where I grew up, and I think we had fun.
Doctor, your mother was Ugandan, and your father was Irish?
No, that's not true. That's not true. Both my mother and father have English fathers. Oh. Yes, so my grandfathers were English. My grandmothers were Baganda. Oh. And so we are all the same color actually in the nuclear family.
Oh.
Yes.
So your parents were the same color, though your grandparents.
Well,
okay.
Mixed, yes.
Okay, please. Doctor, where did you go to school?
Primary school, I went to Aga Khan Primary School. And I actually met His Royal Highness, the Aga Khan at that time. Very exciting. But I also went to Gayaza High School for my senior up to O-levels. I was a little bit high-spirited for Gayaza, so I had to go to a day school after that. So I was in Kololo Secondary School for my A-levels before joining Makerere University Medical School.
Doctor, you're so composed and so hardworking. I don't know what trick your parents used to get, to get us this package.
Yes, so they probably contributed. I had a very, very nice father and a very, very strong mother. An entrepreneur, my mother. My father worked in the civil service all his life, actually, all his life. Until he was over 70. Oh. He was working for the Ministry of Works as an engineer. Yes, that's who I am. I had 4 brothers, so I needed to fight all my life. But I was also very protected. You know, I had 4 strong big brothers looking after me all the time, so I was never bullied. So I'm actually who I am because I was very loved and very protected, and at the same time expected to compete against the boys all the time, which I had to do.
Dr. Maggie Kigozi, as she is commonly known, got married to engineer Daniel Silwano Kigozi. Together they had 3 children who are all university graduates, including a top artist, Daniel Kigozi, commonly known as Navio. With all her achievements and honor, Dr. Maggie's life is definitely enviable, but there was a reason why she and her late husband had a secret wedding, a shocking tale of reject. When did you get married?
A long time ago, 76. 76. I met him when I was given my first job, the little job I did after my A-levels. I was working for BAT as a receptionist, and my husband was the assistant chief engineer. He wasn't my husband then. He was working as the assistant chief engineer. So that's when we met. And yes, that was it. It was serious. So I went to university. I had already met my husband. And throughout that time, we were together. And yeah, we got married soon after.
Yes, doctor. How was marriage, you know? Was it easy for you to fuse in, you know, both of you and your families?
Well, it can be challenging. It was hard. It was hard at the beginning. My people of my color were not well respected. Most of them, you know, it was were delivered by chance somewhere with, you know, maybe girls of the night, maybe, you know, lived in slum areas. So we had that reputation. And so it was very difficult for the son of a chief to say he wanted to marry me. Maybe I'm a doctor. Maybe my family doesn't come from there. But it still required a lot of strength on my husband's side to be able to do that. But he was strong. He was really strong, and he did what he wanted.
Doctor, by the time of your wedding, were your parents, I mean, were your in-laws, you know, had there been some rapport created by the time of the wedding?
No, not really. Not
Tell
really.
us about that.
Yeah, no, well, we had to do the wedding quietly to the council. And yeah, that was it. So we didn't worry about the rapport. It came later. You know, it was those times we were moving out. We were going out of the country. And so we were not here to find out what everybody thought. Yeah, so it was that time when, you know, I was doing my internship and he was just leaving, so.
And later on when they got to know you, you know.
Individually, one by one, I think, yes. There's somebody who came and she'd been told I was terrible. And she says, well, I smiled. She looked at my smile and she said, what? What is the problem? So for her, the smile did it. For others, it was other things. And yeah, so one by one, you win them over. Yes, I think I still have problems, just very, very few. Some have stood their ground. Don't like this. Brought him lots of girlfriends. What about this one? What about that one? And he was saying no.
It is a vice that is secretly engulfing our societies. People are marrying families, not individuals. People are marrying money, property, honor, tribes, religions, color, among other things. Dr. Margaret wonders what's love got to do with all the above. She knows what it means to be rejected by the people of the love of your life. She knows what it means to fight for love, and she cautions parents about the biggest mistake.
I feel I am a Muganda. I think we had to make a choice. And any intelligent person, you are mixed. You can be English, you can be Muganda. You're living in Uganda, so what makes sense? And for me, you know, I guess we did have a bit of a choice, but you're living here. So my choice was I'm a Muganda. And I don't even think about the other half of me. And we've Googled and we found our relatives. We come from all over the world. We have cousins in Brazil, in South Africa, in Australia, in Turkey. They're everywhere. The Blicks, that's my father's side. And then there are the Johnsons, my mother's side. They're all over as well. And that's interesting and exciting, but I really feel my roots, I am a Muganda. My grandmother came from the Ngeye clan, so I believe I come from the Ngeye clan. I got married to the Fumbe clan and my children are Fumbe, so I really feel Muganda more than anything else.
You've just gotten married and then your husband has to go to exile.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Getting across the border was a bit of a challenge. You know, it was scary. Doctors were moving out, had started leaving. The government was aware of this. They wanted to stop it. And I was a doctor, and I had to go with my son. So it was a bit risky. But because I traveled across to play tennis and table tennis so often, the border were not, they were not concerned that I was going across the border. I'd been across many times, so I was allowed to go across.
So doctor, tell us about the time. How long was it?
I left in 1977. My husband left before that. And we came back, he came back a little bit in 1989 with President Lule, and he ran the breweries here. but I had to stay behind. He wasn't too sure about the situation here. So when true enough, just a few months later, you know, the Obote government took over again. And again, it was insecure for him. So he had to leave again. So we had remained behind in Nairobi. And we stayed there until 1986, came back with the NRA.
They had been through a lot together. Maggie met this gentleman in her early youth and he never abused her beauty and dignity. He took her for a wife despite resistance from his very own. In exile, they remained inseparable. Dr. Margaret Kigozi will never forget the day she received that phone call informing her of the unthinkable.
1994, he passed away.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
When did you find out, you know, what happened? Did he get sick?
Well, he wasn't sick or anything, so I had gone to Nairobi to visit the children who attended school in Kenya. And he got a heart attack at night while we were away. Passed away. He had, you know, a block in the artery around the heart. Yeah, so maybe he used to eat a lot of meat. He wasn't really fat, and he was perfectly healthy. He did smoke, so maybe that was it. You know, I know that that was the problem. There wasn't anything else because a postmortem was done. And as a medical doctor, I was quite comfortable about what happened. Yeah.
When you got this news, who called you? Was it a relative? Was it a friend?
Yeah, first of all, it was the headmaster. A friend had called, when my mother found out this side at home, she knew I was at school. There were no mobiles at that time and no phones. No, the phones were not working very well. So it was very hard, but one of my friends got to the headmaster and told him. But the headmaster said, "Would you mind informing her?" I guess it was not his role to tell me. So we went to his house. We waited for a long time, but the phone would not work. Eventually the headmaster told me. And after he told me, then the phone calls came through. Yeah.
You get back and it's time for burial.
Yes.
How did you cope? Because you know you've lost a husband and you have to deal with some relatives that don't exactly want to deal with you.
No, they had changed by then. They were all right. For the first few days, it really doesn't sink in. And then there's so many people in the house all the time, you know, all the relatives are in the house. So it takes some time before it really sinks in. And then you know, it is devastating. It really is. It's when you have children is when you have to think. You know, I think if you don't have children, it may be different. But you know, you look at them and you say, okay, what's going to happen to these people? And it's up to you.
So the reality was, it was time to be a single mother.
Yes.
Did you remarry?
No. No. I never married. I don't know why. I guess, you know, the right person did not come around, maybe. I always worried about what my children would feel.
So, doctor, as we conclude, you know, it is very hard when somebody loses their husband, especially if they're younger. So, what advice do you have to single mothers? Yes, we feel bad for them and we say sorry, but I know you know what they're going through.
Yes.
So what would you tell them?
I would tell them that they actually, as individuals, you have to be strong yourself. If you're expecting a shoulder to lean on, I think, really, I'm sorry to say, it is not there. You need to do it yourself. So look at, first of all, maybe, I don't know, it's very difficult to say be prepared for such an eventuality, because I certainly was not, and I guess nobody is. But maybe if your husband is in business, even before when he's around, get the information about it. I really knew very little about what he was doing, and that was you know, something I regret. I should have spent more time understanding what he was doing, what businesses, what he owned, what, you know, but I didn't. Secondly, leave a will. if you are, either the husband or the wife, leave your will very clearly. Where do you want your property to go? And I'm really eternally grateful to my husband for having done that. Otherwise, the confusion, the pulling, and sometimes you end up as the wife out in the street and everything has been taken by cause of our, paternal way of doing things. So make sure you discuss the will before. Even if you're 25, you see what has happened. They're 25. So that I'm eternally grateful for. And then take on you have to do it. So you need to stand up and take over. Whatever it was that he was doing, whatever brings in the more income. I was a medical doctor, yes. But with my salary as a medical doctor, there was no way I could keep my family in the way they were used to. My husband was the bigger, he was earning much more than I was. So I knew choosing between the medical profession and business, I should go to business. But I didn't know anything about it. So to the young mothers, you can learn.
Dr. Maggie Kigozi is a medical doctor, Chancellor Nkumba University, Chief Scout of the Uganda Scouts Association, Associate Professor of Economics at Makerere University, member of Global Banking Alliance for Women (GBA) Advisory Board, Patron Uganda Change Agents and Junior Chamber International, Director of the Board of Uganda Export Promotion Board, Member Board of Directors, Crown Beverages Limited and Manufacturers and Distributors of Pepsi Cola in Uganda, Founder of Uganda Investment Authority, Women Entrepreneurs Network, Focal Point Officer for the Africa-Asia Business Forum, Patron Uganda Diaspora Network, Sportswoman who has represented Uganda in lawn tennis, among other responsibilities. As I read her endless and heavy CV, I wondered if later generations will have people who deliver this much to their country, yet be able to raise families in the most proper way.
Your generation seems to maybe be too consumptive. You want to buy this and buy that and own this and own that, and you look at it as a right. I think once that gets out of your mind and you recognize that rights come with obligations. Yes, I have a right to food, but yes, I'm obliged to do a number of things to get that food on the table. So once that message sinks, you are people that are going to live in a global world, that have opportunities and access to all these things that we only dreamed about, internet, and, telephones, and wow, what can't you do with that? So knowing you guys, for me, I'm very comfortable. I know people complain, the education system is this. You don't need everybody to be perfect. But out of that stream of 10,000 graduates that come out, there are that 20,000 of them that are going to take the leadership and that are going to make the difference. We don't need to pull everyone. The others will come along.
True love is a silent giant. There is a lot of attack on love, but true love conquers all. It is no wonder that even after years without true love, relationships break down beyond repair. But with true love, even through the worst of assail, lives are saved and hearts are guarded. Nobody gets married to their daughter, son, sister, or brother. One gets married to someone's daughter, someone's sister, son, or brother. One thing that cuts across all worthy relationships and marriages is truth. May Angela Katatumba's bravery and Dr. Maggie Kigozi's strength coupled with patience be a guide for you to be true in your life, especially to yourself.